All right, welcome RSL Nation. It's another episode of your Scarf Life podcast brought to you by yours truly, Adele. And today we have a very special guest for you from California, one of our new friends and a new supporter of a brand new club in Major League Soccer from Los Angeles Football Club. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure, yeah. What's up, everybody? My name is Jerry Jimenez. I'm with the Heart of LAFC podcast, also part of the Black Army 1850 and the 3252, the Independent Supporters Unit for the Los Angeles Football Club.
Man, that's a mouthful. So,
Yeah.
so I have a couple of questions for you. LAFC is exactly 1 game old, which is technically speaking, I know you guys have been around for what, about a year? The announcement was a year and a half, 2 years ago, wasn't that?
No. So the club itself was about 3 years ago. 3 years, 4 months. 3 years, 4 months, and 4 days before we got to play a game.
Wow. Okay. Not like anyone's counting, right?
No one's counting. Yeah.
So let me ask you this question, man, because look, we ourselves have been there, but a little over a decade ago when we were announced to have a brand new club with no history whatsoever at the
Yeah.
club itself. So couple of things happen, right? So I'm watching the TV. I know that you guys signed some big Mexican player by the first name of Carlos, last name something with a V.
Like Carlos Velasquez.
No. That's one of our players. Vela, Oh, that's him. Yeah.
Yeah,
All right. So
that
so
guy.
two things happen, right? So first, I hear there's going to be a new club in LA. Second thing I hear, you guys signed Carlos Vela. And then the third thing I hear is your ownership group is this incredible group of like 30 people, right? That includes Magic Johnson, Mia Hamm, a couple of foreign multi-billionaire investors, right? A really impressive looking group. All right.
Yeah.
So then I kind of stopped paying attention to it. And I tune in my television. I think it was ESPN. It was it Fox Sports. I can't remember. Last Sunday, you guys are playing in Seattle, very famous venue, very famous fan base, and they keep showing this group of people up in the stands. Which, by the way, since the last time I was in Seattle for a game, they had the fan section downstairs in the corner, not upstairs in the corner. I didn't even realize they moved that. And there's this really impressive group of people up there, and I said, when did this happen? How does a brand new club that's playing their first game have such a huge, passionate base? So I go online and I'm watching all these videos on YouTube, and it's this, I mean, it looks like a European or South American fan base that's really, really passionate. You got songs and chants and drums and all these things. So tell me a little bit, how did this whole thing come about? How did this happen? Well, I guess not so quickly because it's been more longer than I thought, but how did this whole thing come together?
So yeah, it's been a long process for sure, man. And I think it started out in October 30th when LAFC was announced. There was already existing supporters from Chivas USA. I know you guys are familiar with Chivas USA and what a failure that was. There was a few of us that were a part of that. There's a few that are still around, not very many. Obviously, that club was just failed to live up to its expectations, and a lot of the supporters that are there now for LAFC are brand new to MLS and are brand new supporters or supporters of other leagues that didn't necessarily care about MLS. We do have a few people that used to be Galaxy supporters and just felt a little bit more of a pull into LAFC. But I would say that it started right from the beginning. I think LAFC did a really good job of saying, hey, whoever is out there that wants to follow a club, and this is what we have in mind, this is what we want to do. If you think this is something that you are interested in, come and tell us what you want out of us. Come and be a part of this club. And the word club is used a lot because we were a club, almost like nothing but a club. We weren't really a squad. We didn't have a team for 3 years, and so they did a really good job of starting to bring people in, and little by little, a bunch of supporter groups started forming. I'm going to say probably about 10 supporter groups right now.
Oh, wow.
There's a ton. And it was mostly just because different lifestyles, different, work. I don't know. It's just different mentalities, different ethnicities, these clubs started forming themselves. The supporter groups started forming themselves, and eventually all decided, you know what, we need to work as one. We need to be one. We can't be like the club across the pond, you know, which is in this case Carson. We call them Carson Galaxy. But they have, their supporters are completely divided. You know, one is on one side of the stadium, the other one is on the other side of the stadium. We realized we didn't want that, and everybody was there understanding and talking about how we all have to be one on the same side. Therefore, 3252, which is the LAFC Independent Supporters Union, formed. And from there, we spread the word, and just, yeah, man, it ended up being close to about 500 people in Seattle for our first game ever, to witness, obviously,
Wow.
our club's first game. Yeah.
That's impressive by any measure, yet alone for a brand new club for the first very first game.
Yeah.
Because immediately on the Twitter, on the Facebook, rumors started forming that the club paid for the supporters to get up there.
Oh, of course.
Which seems like a very kind of convenient excuse for the rest of the league who can't really get that kind of group.
Yeah.
not the case, right? Not the case.
Okay, so if you don't mind, I drink beer as well as you do, so I'm gonna open up a can of beer real quick because I'm getting a little thirsty before we get to the next question.
I'm getting down with a little Epic Brewery 825 State Stout myself right now, so please have at it.
Cheers, sir.
Cheers.
No, absolutely. So, cheers. So, yeah, I saw that, and I'm involved in all of that, you know, and I try to follow social media, like you said, Facebook, Twitter. Automatically, people said LAFC was paying the supporters to go up there. Absolutely not the case. I wish, as a matter of fact, because I had to pay a lot of money to get out there to Seattle myself. So the airplane, which was Delta Aeromexico sponsored, one of our sponsors, big sponsors for LAFC, they put together a flight to Seattle. There was about 110 people that went up there. Those were not supporters. Those were actually just casual fans that went up there. I just so happened to go through that flight because my wife and my son came with me. And so that was, for me, I wanted to spend the money. I actually got a hold of a credit card. I was like, you know what? I don't care. Let's just go comfortably. But I had to pay, and I can tell you it was about $240 per ticket. So my wife and I both paid. My son didn't have to pay, so it was about $480 just on that flight. So when I see people saying that the club paid to get supporters over there, it's ridiculous. They did not pay for any of that. We paid ourselves.
I was kind of hoping they did, because I was going to write a seriously worded letter to my club, be like, hey, what's going on here, man?
Why don't you guys fly us around, right? Yeah, absolutely.
Very cool, man. But either way, what I'm trying to say is that was a very, very impressive showing up in Seattle, not just on the field, but off the field. I know that on the field itself, there are a lot of people who are saying that Seattle saved themselves because they beat Chivas just, what was that, a few days ago, a couple of days ago.
Yeah, which I'm upset about because I'm a Chivas fan, by the way.
Oh, is that right? Is that right?
Yeah, but we won't talk about it.
By the way, you mentioned Chivas USA was a failure. While that might be correct, I remember the last year of Chivas' existence, while RSL at that time, this is before we did a total, downturn. We lost 3 games to Chivas. I think we might have been the only club that year. I think we ended up 2nd or 3rd in the West, and we lost all of our games to Chivas. And someone calculated, had we beat Chivas every game that year, we would have won the Supporter Shield. So Chivas still has a really bad taste in my mouth, even though they were not a very good club.
Yeah. Hey, but you know what? RSL has a very good taste in my mouth, because one of our last games was against you guys, and Nick Romando's family was actually hanging out right by the Black Army tailgate. And Mr. Romando Sr., so Nick Romando's dad, came over, and he's like, hey, how are you guys doing? You guys seem like you're all having fun. And they were barbecuing, and we got to talking. I got a picture with him. They were just very excited to be there. They're always supporting their son. But just from the attitude of the Romando family and the representation and everything that they were saying about RSL as a club, really made me respect you guys that much more. I think the only club that I cannot have any respect for is going to be Carson. Absolutely. But so we're around the same wavelength. I still obviously want to beat you guys when it comes to game time, but I'm always happy to share a beer with you guys. And I sorry about the Chivas thing. I didn't even know that, actually. That's crazy.
Yeah, no, well, we have a history. It's a Utah sports thing. It's not just the RSL, it's the Jazz and the Utes. We just have a thing where we always play up or down to the level of our competition. So it's kind of a long, kind of a sad story, if you ask me. But okay, so you did kind of lead me into my next line of questions, which is, we don't know much about you, and we really appreciate you telling us a little bit about your founding and kind of the soul. It makes a lot more sense the way you describe it, because I always thought, the club is a week old, right? I don't think of it as it's actually a few years old, if you look at it that way. But RSL in Salt Lake City. I mean, technically it's in Sandy. It's just outside of Salt Lake City, in Utah. So let me ask you some questions about us. Kind of a word association game, because Utah and Salt Lake have a very funny taste in some people's mouths. So when you think Real Salt Lake or RSL, what do you think? What comes to mind to you?
Beer. Okay, so we talked a little bit about
tell them
Let
the
me
story.
tell everybody. Okay, so I had a layover. I don't remember exactly where I was going, but I did have a layover in Salt Lake City, and I was there for about 2-3 hours that I had to kill. And there was a craft beer bar at your airport, and I sat down and I'm looking at all the beers, and I'm like, I need to try something local. And so I started going through the board, and I met a nice gentleman. I actually had at that time an LAFC, I think, polo on. And so we started talking about RSL, started talking about LAFC. And this was about 2 years ago. So LAFC was still kind of just still a dream. Nothing really was concrete. Nothing was really happening yet. And I remember just thinking, man, this beer is really good. And I'm a big fan of beer. So to me, when I think of Real Salt Lake, I always think I want to go back there just to keep drinking their beer. Because it's really good.
We have heard a lot worse, let me tell you that.
Really?
Yeah, well, a lot of, most people don't think, when you think Utah, first thing you think of is usually not beer. So okay, let's take a little step further. I know you said you met Nick Romando's dad, and I honestly think Nick is gonna be, if not the first, one of the first three people that will get a statue outside of Rio Tinto. We just re-signed him. He's gonna be here till the end of his life, really, because we just built an academy. So he'll probably go to the academy after he's retired playing. But when you think RSL, when you think Real Salt Lake, what do you like? What comes to mind? What is your association with Real Salt Lake? Any previous experiences, thoughts, ideas?
Oh man. So for me, I'm a musician, just by birth. And so my initial interaction with MLS as a league wasn't that long ago. And that song, the Riot song that you guys sing, that everybody knows, if you believe, then stand up on your feet, right? That whole chant, man, gives me chills still listening to it. And I know there may be some LAFC supporters listening or watching or whatever, that are going to be like, man, Jerry's switching. But I honestly, truly, this song gives me chills just listening to it. And then the way that you guys all sing it as a whole, that to me, that's what I think about. And then also dreadlocks, but that's gone now, unfortunately. So, and you know what I'm talking about.
Hey, man, we're still trying to get used to it ourselves. First game of the season, I keep thinking, who's this new guy who's wearing Kyle Beckerman's jersey? I'm like, come on, man, what's
He
going
looks
on?
Weird, man. I keep seeing pictures of him. I'm like, oh, God, he aged so quickly.
Yeah. Well, in this case, I guess maybe still the same old, Kyle Beckerman. Yeah, Believe. That was so. I'm not sure if you know the history about Believe, but that was written by Brendan Steinekert, the drummer for
Rancid. Yeah.
Yeah. He's
Big supporter,
lifelong, or
right?
at least He's season ticket holder. He actually sits in my section, first row. He's always there.
Nice. Tell him I say
Cool guy.
hi.
I never. I'm back in like row 8. He's in 1. We never. Never.
It's not that far. Throw a peanut at
No.
him and say, "Hey, Jerry
I,
says hi."
I will do that. Game 1. Game 1 this Saturday. This Saturday. All right, man. So that's good to hear. So overall, it looks, it sounds like and looks like a really good fan group. And I read the other day that what did they sell out all the season tickets? Like 17,000 season tickets have been sold or something like that.
Yeah, so our stadium is actually pretty small, and I think they did that on purpose. They want to make sure that it's a hot item in Los Angeles. You know, you can't get it that easy. So yeah, they had 17,500 season tickets sell out. The supporter section, I believe, still has a couple of tickets left, which is going to be a total of 3,252 season tickets. So that's kind of how you get the 3252 Supporters Union name.
Yeah.
And for those of you that didn't know that, but you know, it's impressive. I think they did their job. They've been really on top of it. They better, right? They've had three years or so to do it. So, is it impressive in Los Angeles? I would say no, because we're a small stadium, but they're making it to where it is accessible. And it's a great spot in the city, and it's going to be fun. I mean, if you've seen the pictures of our stadium, it's beautiful, beautiful. So, yeah. Excited.
Yeah, you got one of those European kind of flat stands. Isn't it the most vertical stadium in the MLS or something like that? I read something. There's all these facts that kind of just fly out there.
Yeah, so Orlando claimed that they were the steepest. We're actually, and we don't like to say it because we don't want to make Orlando mad, but because they're evil over there. But we're actually 1 degree steeper than the Orlando, just by 1 degree. But also at the same time, we do have safe standing, and we have seats that are going to be locked. So we're going to get the whole European feel. Of course, they did a little bit of homework, and it sounds like it's basically going to be almost like the Celtic supporters section for Celtic FC. So that should be interesting. I think it's going to be fun. Hopefully nobody gets vertigo and throws up, you know, but I've actually been there. I've seen it. It's really steep. It's actually kind of scary. So,
well, that should be fun though. I'm looking forward to going out there because I was out at the LA Carson, as you call it, in the Galaxy Stadium a couple of times. And
it sucks.
Yeah, no, it's a decent stadium. I don't mind the stadium. My very first game in LA or Carson was a few years ago. It was a playoff game, and man, all I remember is being stuck in traffic.
Yeah.
Specifically, like I think I got to the parking lot 30 minutes before kickoff, 45 minutes before kickoff. I got into the stadium 15 minutes into the game. It was the most ridiculous experience. You know, ever. But this one's a lot closer to the actual downtown, correct?
Oh yeah, it's within a couple miles from downtown. You can actually see on one of our corners, which is where the supporters are going to sit. To the left of the supporters, there's an opening in the stadium on purpose, where the people that are on the southeast and basically the entire west side, oh, I'm sorry, southwest and entire west side are going to be able to see downtown Los Angeles. So yeah. It's pretty cool. Yeah. We won't be able to see it because we'll have our backs to the city, but that means the city has our back. So pretty excited for that, man. Yeah.
Oh, I like that. That's a good one. See, our stadium has the mountains, so depending where you sit, you can see the mountain range on there. All right, man. Very cool. So listen, let's shift a little bit to the product on the field, if that's okay.
Of course. Yeah.
So I was watching the game on Sunday, and I figured we would be talking at some point this week, or I'd be writing an article about it. So I took some notes. So these are very generic notes. I'm just reading off my phone that I was kind of taking down as I was watching the game. All right. So the very first thing in my notes is dangerous wings. Man, what's that? Diego Rossi and what's the other guy on the other side? Yeah, my God. Those dudes, actually, I think I have a note here. They're going to get, nightmare for any defense.
Awesome. Yeah, exactly how I feel. I think that both Diego Rossi and Latif Blessing are going to be scary. And we can talk about the gaps that we have, but those two are just fantastic. I think you hit it right on the nose, man.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right. Well,
they're
I did
quick
add a
at their
couple of
feet.
gaps. Oh my God, yeah, so quick.
Yeah,
'Cause, yeah, I was just trying to figure out how our wings, how our outside backs are gonna hold up against them, and it
yeah,
doesn't matter whom you put back there, they're gonna have a hard time with those two dudes, man. They're dangerous. Um,
yeah,
my second note is Diego Rossi, very dangerous. My third note is Carlos Vela orchestrating the real deal. So you know how a lot of these European,
yeah,
well, not European, but he's basically a European player, right? He's played his whole career, if I'm correct. I think since he went to Europe when he was like 16, right?
yeah. From
And
Guadalajara. Yep.
yeah, and he's played his whole career. I mean, his whole professional career as a grown up in Europe. So a lot of the times these big European players will come over and there's not much happens right away. So I was kind of hoping that was the case with him because especially the bigger the deal, especially with his kind of background of not being the best example for other players, right?
Mm-hmm.
But man, he looked good. He looked ridiculously good, man. How excited are you guys about him?
Absolutely. I think that you can see that the ball goes through him, and he controls that. He's the orchestrator. He's the one that's working that ball and making sure that it's where it needs to be. Everything's been working through him. So yeah, we're excited to see him. I think that we have high expectations. He, is highly paid. He's the highest paid in the club, so we expect him to do great things. Now, same thing for Diego Rossi. I think it's both of them are going to need to pair up. They have um, that same type of idea where he started out very young in a new league, and so now he's taking Diego Rossi under his wing, leading him through a new league as well. The thing is, Carlos Vela doesn't have any experience in MLS, but just from what
Mm.
we saw in Seattle, I think that he will fit right in, and it seems like those two guys are going to be are most dangerous, and so they earned their DP spot for sure. Um, I would say that Carlos Vela could potentially become a captain if Laurent Simon wasn't there. I don't know if you saw that, but Laurent Simon is one of those players as well that I'm excited to see. What gaps did you see though, man? I think I need to ask, what gaps are you seeing in our club?
Well, okay, a couple of gaps. First, one more positive shout out.
Let's get into
Before
the real negative.
because I get there's no real negative. Well, there's one really big negative, which
Okay.
you won't understand because you're not part of our culture. But I'll explain. One
Okay.
more positive. Tyler Miller, your goalkeeper, ridiculous
Uh,
performance on Sunday. You think he can keep that up? I mean, because he was a backup in Seattle before that, with behind Stefan Frey. I mean, just about any other goalkeeper in MLS would be a backup. That guy's ridiculous. But
yeah.
is that
Yeah.
is that is that the real Tyler Miller? Do you think, or are you guys waiting for him to drop a little bit?
So I got to actually talk to Stefan Fry. Stefan Fry and the Seattle Sounders were training not too far away from me, so I got to drive down, got to hang out a little bit, and I got to talk to Stefan Fry. And I said, "Hey, man, what do you think? What do you think of Tyler Miller?" And he goes, "Who?" That was his first
No
reaction.
way.
And then he
Really?
said, and then he said, "I'm just kidding.
Oh.
Tyler Miller." I know. I was like, "Oh no, what did we do?" Right? And he goes, "I'm just kidding. Tyler Miller is fantastic. He is definitely deserves a chance. And he needs to have somewhere new to just start over." And so for us, when we saw him coming in as supporters, we thought there's no way Tyler Miller is going to be our main guy because he was back up to Stefan Fry. We need somebody like Stefan Fry to step up and be our goalkeeper, right? This last game showed us that there's no reason why Tyler Miller can't handle it, the number one spot. Now we have Luis Lopez. Now he's also just a clear number one goalkeeper, and so that's where it gets a little bit more difficult for us because Tyler Miller, I think, can keep it up, and I think it's really going to come down to Bob Bradley saying, "Hey, I'm going to keep playing this guy. He's proven until he shows us that he can't do it anymore. Then maybe I'll move him." And that's what I'm kind of hoping because Tyler Miller has that mentality, like he has something to prove. That the fact that he's not maybe a backup to Stephen Fry, he should be up front. but man, he showed up, and
Yeah.
so for us, we're excited. Luis Lopez is again who I believe if he was healthy, he's not healthy by the way. So Luis Lopez is
Hmm.
from Honduras. He is the Hondureño. He's from Honduras as the actual goalkeeper for the Honduras national team. So
Hmm.
a little bit more experience than Tyler Miller, but man, 7 saves. It just literally what I don't know how that guy got to some balls, and just gave us the 1-0. That was all him.
Yeah.
Hence the MLS week team of the week. He made goalkeeper for team of the week. So
That was an incredible performance. Does the fact that I mean, because our coach said, I think just a couple of days ago, because a lot of people were talking about the fact that Seattle was playing with, I mean, I think they were short 7 or 8 starters or something like that, and he was saying that
wow.
that didn't really matter because Seattle is a really difficult place to go into and win, no matter who's playing. And some of us happen to believe that Deuce is kind of past his prime, so sometimes it's better if he's not on there, right?
I would
Um,
agree.
yeah. That doesn't give you any pause, any cause of concern. You're not getting, you don't feel like you're getting a little too high on the expectations because of the opposing lineup that was on the field. Do you?
I'm gonna say no because I think that we have high expectations for this club in general. Everything that they've been telling us from the beginning leads us to believe that this club needs to be one of the best. And I think I said this before on another podcast. I said that, we're not Atlanta United. We're not gonna come out there and just dominate and make it to the playoffs that as easily as Atlanta United did. But at the same time, I'm happy to say that we're not Minnesota United. So it's gonna be a tough year. I think we all are aware of that. Those that are realistic and understand that expansion teams uh, don't perform as well as maybe the majority of the league will do.
Hmm.
It's better to have lower standards than to have really high standards and then get shot down. But at the same time, we need to keep those high standards and push and push and push the club. So for us, uh, you know, I think no, yeah, it's really interesting because going into Seattle, I thought for sure we were going to get destroyed. And then,
Hmm.
yes, they're lacking 7, 8 of their main players, which worked for them. They beat Chivas, as you were saying, but they still opened up the door for us to have that positivity. Now our club thinks we can do this. We beat Seattle. Let's go on and let's keep doing this over and over and over. So there's a positive that they gave us, in the sort of way. Um, it's weird, man. It's kind of tough to really judge right now because we don't know too much about our club. It's brand new.
Yeah.
They didn't start playing till maybe about a month ago together, and so it's been an interesting few days for sure. Because I feel everybody's so hyped. We're gonna be going into RSL now with high
Hmm.
expectations. So we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, man, it's a brand new RSL team, by the way, as well. So that should be a fun one. A
Yeah.
very fun one, actually. We had it took an own goal for us to not walk out with 3 points out of Dallas, which was kind of a sad ending to that game.
Yeah.
Um, so a couple of here's one of the negatives I have on here right away. It said
Sure.
disorganized in defense, sustained pressure needed. Um, I
Yeah.
really think one of the reasons Tyler Miller was the goalkeeper of the weekend or game day one is because he had to make a lot of saves. Because it seemed to me like that defense, and I honestly think that I really think the greatest coaches in the world, take Mourinho, take whomever you want,
Hmm.
they're defensive coaches because our defense is an orchestra, right? The defense messes up once and you get scored on. The offense has shot after shot after shot. Worst case scenario, you don't make a shot, you get another shot, right? On defense, you screw up, you get scored on, you have a lot of catching up to do. So it makes
Yeah.
sense that most defenses would be disorganized right now. Ours wasn't too hot last weekend either, but it seemed like your defense and I forgot his name, but your captain, he was a
Siman.
defensive. Yeah, he was a defensive player of the year just a couple of years ago, right?
Yeah,
Um,
2016.
yeah, really
Oh,
good
15.
player. But
2015.
but it, Yeah, it seemed like the defense seemed a little disorganized, and I have a note that says, like I said, disorganized in defense, sustained pressure needed. I have the feeling that if there's organized and sustained pressure on your defense, eventually they start making mistakes. And unless you got Mr. Miller coming through with goalie of the week performances week after week, you're gonna get some goals scored on. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, our defense definitely needs some work. The thing is also, as we're going into the game, one of our center backs was supposed to be Walker Zimmerman,
Hmm.
and he was hurt. So last minute decision, they brought in Dijon Jakovic, who was supposed to be on the bench.
Hmm.
So there is something that maybe some people may have not noticed or thought about. I think Djokovic did a fantastic job of covering, but I think that once we got past about the 25, 30-minute mark, it was all defending and it was all possession from Seattle, right? So
Hmm.
for us, I think that that defense is looking a little bit scary. I think we need to work on that. Originally coming into the season, we believed that our midfield was going to be the one that needed work, and I don't think that's going to be the case at all. Now we're looking at the defense, thinking maybe there's going to be a little bit more work that we need here. At the same time, I must say that Bob Bradley did mention that he wants to have an attacking mentality where even the defensive players are going to be getting that ball forward and getting forward. So people like João Moutinho, who's also in the back, and Tristan Blackman, they'll be able to get out forward and push that ball ahead and even score some goals. So we had a preseason game, and I know these preseason games don't matter, but we got to see kind of the idea that he's building upon. And João Moutinho scored a goal. He's a defensive player, scored a goal against Sacramento Republic. What was he doing all the way up there? We're just attacking, and so we have to be able to run back quick enough and defend on that counterattack. And I don't think that was happening quite the way that Bob Bradley wanted it to happen this last game. So we'll see how we can handle that RSL counterattack, man. How are you feeling about your guys's just squad in general? Because right now you were saying they're brand new, but I have to throw a question out there for you as well, and
Do
that
it.
is that it's to me it's very interesting to see that the veterans are just those are the names in the club right now, right?
The veterans meaning Nick Romando and Carl Beckerman, I'm assuming. Is that right?
I mean, yes, I would say,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, and they will be for another year, year and a half, 2 years at the most. Look, the way I see it, Nick Romando is like a fine wine, right? That dude ages, and it becomes better and better.
Yeah.
Now we as RSL diehards, he'll have once in a while a bad game, right? He'll have that one mistake. He's known for that one huge mistake a year, right?
Okay.
So we start questioning ourselves because over the years we had some pretty good backup goalies, right? And we said, well, maybe this is the year when they phase out Nick Romando and we put A or B or C in, right? And then we go to the stadium the very next game and he does something that is just stupid, right? That should not be possible for a human being of his stature. And we're like, oh, that's why he's good. We almost
Mm-hmm.
forgot that a little bit. So yeah, we're okay with Nick Romando. He just, like I said, extended. There was word he was going to you guys actually
I
while
was
contract
about to say,
negotiation.
I didn't want to cut you off, but we had a connection between Nick Romando and LAFC for a little while, which I think
Yeah.
was just a bunch of baloney, personally.
No, I'm sure someone it helped him get a higher contract or something. I don't know. I don't think he was going to leave either way.
Okay.
He's a landmark. Nick Roman. We have downtown. We have John Stockton Street and Carmelone Avenue or something like that. I think the next one will be Nick Romando Boulevard or something. That's
Nick
about
Romando
it up
Road.
here.
Romando Road.
There we go,
It
Romando
worked.
Road. And then Kyle, man, Kyle is like we have some really good players who could play in Kyle's position, right? But he's I truly think beyond just the skill set, Kyle Beckerman is that icon, right? Like you said, the dreads, even though they're gone now, that's the icon. And I really think when other players on the field kind of look at him and they say, you know what, it's gonna be okay. That dude is on the field with me. It's gonna be okay. He's not known to pull back. He's known for uh, breaking some people's legs and whatnot over the past few years. He actually, I think, to date, still has the highest number of fouls in Major League Soccer history,
That's
as well
awesome.
as yellow cards. So that's just Kyle Beckerman. I think he's gonna be here forever. Like I said, we just started a big academy, just actually both north and south of Salt Lake. So I really think he's gonna be here forever. Now, this team is we just got some new players, we got some old players. We actually finished as the hottest team in Major League Soccer last year. We had that little coach change last year. Mike Petke stepped in, a New York guy, a no
Yep.
BS guy. This is how it is. He actually benched our highest paid player in history, Yura Mosisian. um,
Wow.
Also, I for sure thought he might have been out there with you guys as well at some point, because he's an Armenia native, but he's an LA resident, right? So word is that he's going to end up in one of the LA clubs at some point soon. We're extremely high on our team, man. I saw projections as high as first in the West. I don't know about that. We'll see how that works out. But we haven't made the playoffs well, we made the playoffs 2 years ago. That's when I came out to LA or Carson to watch us get completely destroyed in Carson. I just hope we make the playoff. I think once you're in the playoffs, you're good to go. You're good to roll. The other thing I've learned is it doesn't matter. If you remember, a couple of years ago, Seattle was like ninth with
Yeah.
like 10 game days to go, and they won the MLS Cup that year. So we're very high on our team, and a lot of people are saying they would hate to be our coach right now because he's about too deep in every position, and both players in each position could start any given week.
Yeah.
So you're gonna have some pissed players. So I hope also we have the worst luck when it comes to injuries. So those two deep players, I think by July, are actually gonna quickly dissolve and will be struggling again. That's just the way we work. We'll struggle to fill any positions.
Do
So
you
yeah.
think there's going to be any changes for you guys during the summer break, during that summer transfer window?
Well, we did just open a DP spot. Well, we're
Yeah.
working on it. We're releasing Eura. Yeah, man, there are a lot of talks with a lot of people all over the place.
Yeah.
I don't know. We're Salt Lake City, Utah. The entire state of Utah has a population of 3 million people, right? We are I think the second smallest TV market in the nation, at least when it comes to sports teams. So we're not getting Zlatan Ibrahimovic anytime soon, right? And we're okay with that. That's not how we roll, man. We don't sign the big free agents. We develop our kids. Half of our roster, well, not half, but a large percentage of our roster right now is actually homegrown players from our academies that we have built into our systems. So yes, we do have some DP money we can spend this summer, and we actually have an owner that's very, very committed and doesn't seem to be very. Doesn't seem to be afraid to spend the money, because he has openly said, "I'm never going to make a dime on this team. If I can break even, I'm going to celebrate." So yeah, I don't know. I don't know what I would go out and get. That
Yeah.
seems like a weird thing to say, but I love our midfield. I love our forward core right now. And our defense, I mean, we have youngsters all over the place. And I don't want to get rid of them. My biggest worry is that we're going to lose like someone like a Justin Glad, a young man we have developed into a center defender. And I see no way in a couple of years he's still here. I see no way he's not playing in at least Liga MX, but probably overseas. Because he's already getting call ups to the national team, and he's like, I don't even know, 19 or something.
Mhm.
So yeah, that's it. I don't see us signing any big players anytime soon. But then again, we do specialize in those like European second league players. Or one of our best players some of our best players in the history of this league, of our club, have come from like Spanish second division. or English second division or something like the Austrian league. We're not going to sign, like I said, Ibrahimovic or Rooney or anything like that anytime soon because we go the exact opposite direction. How about you guys? Are you all full on DPs now?
No, we have still one spot open. I think that we might end up actually bringing somebody in at least by the summer transfer window for sure. And so for me is more about who do we have right now, and then how much space can we make um, for new players.
Ibrahimovic?
And yeah, it's one of those things where I enjoy hearing that. Like if we were to get Ibrahimovic, I don't think he's going to be coming to LAFC. I think he's going to be going to Carson. But at the same time, I mean, if we're attached to big names like that, it's good for us, right? Because it only draws attendance.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, man, it's like he's old. There's a reason why he's no longer going to be in Manchester United. And he still has it though. We'll see what happens. I mean, I would love to play against him, if I'm being honest. I want to see him. Yeah. I actually would like to see him and Carson and us just kill Carson with Ibrahimovic in the lineup. Dream come true right there.
All right, man. So we're speaking the same language, man. Because I want Ibrahimovic in the league because of the obvious high profile, but I don't want him on my team because if anything, he'll hurt the team at this point, right?
Yeah.
All right. So even though, yeah, you're right, he's still pretty damn good. Word is he's hired a real estate agent to buy him a house in LA, but I don't know what that means.
Yeah.
Zlatan has a lot of homes in a lot of countries, I think. So I don't think that means a whole lot.
Yeah, he has a business, right? He has a clothing company. And so obviously Los Angeles is a place you want to be if you're building a clothing company, underwear company, just like David Beckham did. But we'll see, man. It's so for a little while, I don't know if you saw that, but he posted something like "Welcome to Los Angeles," and his logos, his design for his clothing company is black and gold. And so everybody was like freaking out, saying, "Oh my God, he's going to LAFC." Not the case, not the case at all. So he does whatever he wants. He throws stuff out there just to see what get a reaction. We'll see what happens.
He has made a decent living on kind of being who he is, saying what he wants whenever he wants. I would love for him to come to Salt Lake City and play against us once a year, whatever.
Yeah,
but I wouldn't give up anyone we have on offense right now for him, to be honest with you, which seems kind of messed up because he's honestly one of my favorite players in the world. I cannot believe that man has never won Player of the Year in the world. It's absolutely ridiculous. But still, that was 10 years ago.
Okay. Yeah. So just a little bit of a heads up. I think do you think? Okay, here actually a question for you. So from your starting 11 against FC Dallas, on your defensive side, you had DeMar Phillips, you had Justin Glad, you had Sean Berry, and then you also had own goal, Marcelo Silva. Yeah. So do you think that there's going to be any changes within your defense? Because if there isn't, I can tell you right now, we're going to destroy your defense.
The wings? Are you talking about the wings or the center?
Oh, yeah. No, our wings are going to destroy your defense.
Yeah. So
yeah, I know you don't want to hear that, but let's talk about
it. No, I do want to hear it. Luckily for me, I don't have to make those decisions. There are way smarter people who have to decide on the lineups. So DeMar Phillips, when he came into the league, when he joined us 3-something years ago, he was my big hope because I'm a strong believer in like the Marcelo from Madrid and what's his name, Danny from Barcelona. I'm a big believer in speedy, quick, offensive wings who get forward and cross. So all the indication about him was that he's one of those wings. I thought he was going to single-handedly change our team. Problem, he's I think spent half the year every year injured. So we never know what we're getting with that guy. So he's actually a pretty quick guy if you're talking strictly about speed. I think he can. Nah, I'm not sure he can keep up with Blessings on your right side, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was the left side. But here's the way I see it. So my preferred option on the left outside is actually Dani Acosta, one of our youngsters. I mean, a very young guy. He doesn't know better yet, so he just goes out and gives it his all every single game. And I love the way that man plays. But here's what I'm thinking. All right, if one of your wings crosses one of our outside backs, they still have to cross the ball inside, right? Because they're probably not going to score on Rimando from the corner flag. And I like the way we are set up in the middle, right? I like the combination of Marcelo and Glad in the middle to defend against whomever you're going to cross into. Even though Marcelo scored the own goal last week, so maybe that's not the best endorsement for him. But I kind of agree with you. I think on the left side, on your left forward side, on our right back side, ooh, that's going to be a tough day for us, man. Because I don't see who's stopping Rossi. Well, nobody in the league is stopping Rossi, but I think Rossi will be able to cross that ball in all he wants all day long. That's actually probably my biggest worry. So I really hope that our coaching staff is a lot smarter and observant than I am and have figured it out and are able to accommodate for it.
Yeah, I mean, I doubt that they're going to be that they're not going to be watching footage and get what you just got out of that, you know. And so that's where the changes are going to come in. I'm not sure exactly what Bob Bradley always likes to kind of surprise everybody. So we'll see what changes he has, what he wants to do. And now that we're going to have some more available people within our club, I think it also is going to be big. You know, there's going to be a couple of guys that are going to be coming in that are going to be available. Hopefully, we'll have Walker Zimmerman available for center back, and we're also going to have Etuesta, who is coming in as well. So we have some interesting things happening. We'll see what happens. I'm excited to see, honestly, and I hope that you guys do well. Not that well. And I really do feel that your defense is going to be your fall here in this situation.
Well, it is every year. That's not going to be just to this Saturday. That's not just going to be the next 5 games. Our defense is the number one thing we have to get in order. Again, because of some of the organization, we have a combination of like teenagers and then mid-30s dudes, right? They've played all over the world. So it feels like that combination still needs to come together. Defense was our Achilles heel last year. Our midfield is, in my opinion, ridiculous. We have Rushnyak, who was the highest, most efficient midfielder in the league last year. We got Damir from the
Kralak,
second
right?
Bundesliga on the left. Kralak from the second Bundesliga from Berlin that had a really decent game last game. And then on offense, I mean, all the way up front, we have Savarino on the left, I mean, on the right, and we have left. And those dudes, I mean, that's like your blessing and Rossi. And but my only problem with Severino is he's either has the game of his life or he's non-existent every single game. There's no middle ground with him, you know. And then we have Brooks Lennon, who we raised. I like to say he came from our academy. Then he went to the Liverpool academy. Then he came back to us. And he actually wasn't even on the roster last game. He was playing with our USL squad, actually out in Sacramento, I think. So I'm not sure why that was. I'm just hoping to bring him in. Overall, you're absolutely correct. I do not think between our team and your team, because like I said, one of my notes said sustained pressure on your defense is going to cause your defense to make mistakes. And I think we have this squad that has that sustained pressure. So I think we'll score 2 or 3 goals on you. I think you might score 2 or 3 on us as well.
Yeah.
So if I was an objective observer, this is the game I would tune into, because this is not going to be a boring draw. It's not going to be a 0-0. I would, if I was a betting man, and I am. This is if the over/under is 4 goals in the game, I'm putting the money over, because this game is not going to be short on goals. Unless of course, Nick Romano is one of his famous games where nothing gets past him, and Tyler Miller has a repeat of last weekend. Chances of both of those things happening on the same weekend are pretty slim. So overall, I think it's going to be a good game. I do think we pull it out. I think we have a little too much depth. We've played together a little bit longer, and our midfield, I think, despite Carlos Vela, who's a great equalizer on your side, he's a midfielder, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I do think a combination of the midfield overpowers everything. I'm calling the 3-1 in our favor. What do you call it?
I call the 3-1 in our favor, actually. And yeah, and so I did that on our podcast. I call the 3-1 in our favor, and I think Vela, Rossi, and Blessing are all individually going to score on you guys. But man, it's going to be an interesting game regardless. I think that it's going to be fun to watch. Like you said, it's not going to be a boring 0-0. I think there's going to be some goals for sure, especially with us coming in new, coming in hot from a win. You guys coming in from a tie thinking, hey, we need to show these guys. This is our home opener, right? You guys, this is your guys' home opener.
This is.
So you have home field advantage. I'm excited to see that and see what happens. You have a good squad. Now it's just a matter of what's Petke going to be able to do with that defense. And then us, how are we going to be able to incorporate the new guys coming in?
So that's interesting. So
yeah,
here's the way I'm thinking about this. I know it's early in the game, early in the season, right? And you're a brand new club. And one of my questions was, do you see yourself as Atlanta United or Minnesota, right, in the first year? I don't think you'll be either, because Atlanta was ridiculous. Also, it helped that they played in the Eastern Conference. And Minnesota, I don't know what the hell happened there.
We're in between.
You're in between. So one of the that's one of the questions. Here's what I'm willing to say right now. If you come into Salt Lake City this Saturday and you win, which gives you 2 wins in the first 2 weeks at Seattle and at Rio Tinto in Salt Lake City, which, by the way, very good chance of snow this Saturday.
Oh, fun.
You're in the playoffs, my friend. I'm putting my money on LAFC making the playoffs this year.
Wow.
Year 1. Despite the Western Conference being stacked, even scrubs like Houston and Colorado might actually be good this year. You get 6 points out of at Seattle and in Salt Lake. First 2 weeks, you're in. Having said that, I honestly and truly and respectfully believe you're going to have 3 points after the first 2 games. But here's what we can do. Here's what we do. Let's talk next week, early next week, right after the game, and we talk about what happened. How's that?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm up for it. I think it's going to be interesting, man, because meeting people like you and then getting to talk to other people from around the league. I think that everybody is like, there's no in between. It's either LAFC is going to be great or you guys are terrible and you're going to suck because you don't know what you're doing. So I'm excited to see what happens after the second game for sure. I think that we're going into it with a lot of hype, and it's just hype. Let's see what actually happens. Let's see what Petke versus Bradley looks like. I'm excited. I think it's going to be a very interesting game for sure. And may the best man win. We'll talk soon, though.
I love that. So we got a 3-1 each way here, and we're talking again early next week. And one of us is saying, I told you so. All right, RSL Nation, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for tuning in. And like you heard, we'll be talking to these boys real soon.